what's happened is the Yemeni economy has grown such that the remittances now, which used to be a key part. If you look at the successful development economies over the last, 30 years, the one thing that you see, and here I'm building on Danny Roderick. I highly recommend the work of Danny Roderick and Joseph Stiglitz on these development issues.
Thank you very much, Charles, for that very interesting analysis of Yemen's economic challenges. There's so much to talk about, and I'm sure there are a lot of people here who want to talk a lot about the economy, but I'd like to just throw a question in sort of about the political situation, because you talked extensively about the importance of a strong state in managing these economic transitions. And of course, I think to many of us, it looks like the state is in free fall. Granted, Saleh has left, and their elections are scheduled for late February. And I wonder if you could speak a little bit about your expectations for these elections, and if you see any kind of political and hence maybe economic stability following.
Well, you know that there's only one candidate for the elections. Yeah, there's only one candidate. That was part of the agreement. That there may be other people, but there's only one guy. It's the vice president. He will be elected, and that was part of the agreement. Both the opposition and the government, or the ruling party, they agreed that there would be essentially only one candidate. So it's kind of a funny ritual they're going through. But I think the transfer of power is significant. And at first I was pessimistic about the Gulf Agreement. It seems to me, that Ali Abdullah Saleh basically won that. He left his sons in power, the military, and his style of rule was still reigning in Yemen, and the opposition had sort of sold out. It looked to me like I wasn't optimistic at all about it. But there have been some recent developments that have gotten me very optimistic, and this is where there have been these strikes that have happened within the government institutions. There was a strike that happened in the Air Force. One of Saleh's relatives was the commander. They're trying to get him out. There's a strike right now in the election committee where they're supposed to be running these February elections, where they're accusing the leadership of corruption. And so I think in Yemen, the street and a lot of people were disappointed by the Gulf Agreement. They saw it as sort of the Saudis and the Americans intervening in their local affairs and sort of allowing the Saleh clan to retain their position in Yemen. I think the Saleh clan sort of forced that on the international community. But people have carried their activity into their work and into the institutions, and there seems to be a real transformative spirit right now in Yemen. And nobody's shooting them, so if they can carry this through, it would be very, very good if there was a sort of a sweeping out of the institutions by these sort of popular uprisings. I mean, that to me, I think, is a very positive development. So I'm optimistic about it at the moment.
We'll wait and see. Well, thank you. Let's open the floor to questions. I just want to let people know in the overflow room there are question cards. If you have a question, we also have a few seats here in the front. If anybody wants to come through and join us in the front, please identify yourself.
Hi, my name's Nadia Dar. I work with the Bank Information Center here in Washington, D.C. I'm also of Yemeni origin and happen to be living here at the moment. And one of the things that strikes me whenever I attend these events is that we're in a room on N Street in Northwest Washington, D.C., talking about these issues, and I really hope that these conversations are also happening in Yemen, with members of my family, perhaps. But one of the things I wanted to ask you was that, you mentioned institutional building and strong capacity building is very important. For a number of reasons you talked about in the future for a diversified economy that will be important, for a sustainable revenue source, for taxation that's important. And I wonder how immediate is that need? Like, is that something that should be focused on in the immediate term and the post-Saleh period? And then the second part of that question is, what are the roles of international financial institutions in promoting those kinds of issues? So, for example, the World Bank right now is strongly working on governance in Tunisia in the post-Ben Ali regime, and I wonder, is that something you would want to see institutions like the World Bank working on?
Yeah, good question. I think it is an immediate thing. I mean, financially for the state, it's absolutely, they got to do the taxation and to organize. One of the other things in coordinating economy, The state has to sort of take care of losers. If you're opening an economy, if you're trying to build a sector, you may be creating losers. Somebody may be pushed out, and you have to compensate them. You can't create, particularly in a place like Yemen where people are organized. People can make themselves heard. You've got to keep social peace. It's a very important part of having a stable economy is social peace. And so the legitimate government, first part is a legitimate government, and then underneath it, the capacity to build these institutions. I think it's very important. Good governance is kind of a weird word. It's like corruption. Corruption and good governance are the opposite, but neither of them are defined very well. And I have some very good references about this issue. And to me, it's good that the international community gets involved in it, but the most important thing is that Yemenis get involved in it. And I think Yemenis know what good governance is. I mean, they know what they know how to make institutions work. I'm always impressed with the capabilities of Yemen. There are people with fantastic capabilities, highly trained people who know what they need. They just need to be empowered. Ali Abdullah Saleh used to call them his men in pants, right? But they've always been undercut. He's always been afraid of them, and they're there. I think they know what needs to be done, and through these little institutional revolts, I think they're doing it. I think it's fantastic. What I wouldn't do though is sort of depend upon the World Bank or the IMF to come in and this is good governance. They don't know what good governance is. Everybody knows what the outcome is, but nobody knows how to implement it. The people know how to implement it, and a lot of it has to do with legitimacy. Frankly.
My name is Ali from Yemen Embassy. Thank you for your interesting lecture, and you gave us some hope that our economy might be on track again. And what I would like to share with you is you talk about the labor forces to the Gulf states. Mm-hmm. Our neighbors saying that they need professionals, labor nowadays, and the human development in Yemen is very low. So, and it's a long-term investment. How do you see human development, and how long it will take for Yemeni labor to be active outside Yemen, even in Gulf? And what about the foreign investment in Yemen? Is there any hopes for foreign investment in Yemen? Thank you.
Yeah, some very good questions. Look at the issue of training of labor. If you go to Dubai, go to the Emirates, go to Qatar, go to those places, who do you see? Who are the foreign laborers? They're construction workers. They're hotel people. Those are not high skills. Those are kind of skills that can be done in a month, in two. And some of it's happening. I know there is some initiatives that are coming from the Gulf to train Yemeni labor. I know some people that are involved in it. To give them, a couple months, and if you graduate, if you pass the course, you get a job in the Gulf. There is some of this kind of stuff, but it needs to be greatly expanded. I think basically the issue is one of labor peace. They prefer Asian labor because it has no cultural identity. It will never make any demands on the state. Whereas Yemenis are people. Yemenis are within the community. They speak Arabic. They know the culture. And so they're very afraid that expat labor is going to, make demands for rights and fair treatment. This is the real issue, and frankly, it's an issue that I think the U.S. should support. This is more along American values, U.S. values, the Gulf states are not going to back down on it. They're going to have to be forced down on it. It's going to have to. Their priorities are going to have to be. They're going to have to see their priorities shift a little bit on that one. On the question of foreign investment, people always think that, and this is in bank literature, you often see foreign direct investment as the spillover effects of foreign direct investment. That's what raises technology. That's what raises productivity. That you get foreign investors that come in, they invest, they bring capital, that's all great, but the key thing they do is they bring know-how, they bring experience, they bring access to finance and access to markets and, all this kind of blah, 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 blah. If you look at the experience, where does foreign direct investment go?